Good evening, and welcome to the Petersburg By Night podcasting network. Tonight, we present to you our Vampire the Masquerade chronicle, Bloody Strings.
Welcome to another St. By Night revamped production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of Bloody Strings, one of the many chronicles here at St. By Night. I am Devlin, your humble storyteller this evening, and these are my lovely players. Please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Truckexe, and I am playing the brash Brujah, Drake Monahan.
Hi, I'm Kendall, the Elemental on TikTok, and I'm playing Maggie, Haywood, Lekar.
Hello, I'm Lekar the Artificer on TikTok, and I am playing the well-dressed ne'er-do-well Toreador, Matthew Halden.
Hey, I'm Mew, and I'm playing Sophie Clews, the malted milkshake Malkavian.
Last we left off, you had all completed a rather chaotic heist for the Camarilla. Not so much a heist, an escort mission. We keep calling it a heist, though I'm not sure how that started. But you moved the truck from point A to point B mostly all together. You had an altercation with somebody who seemed to have mistaken their target and let them go. You managed to bring the person of importance back to the Dali, where it revealed a torpid kindred that was covered in blood. After turning them into Edwin, you all went about your business and broke apart for the week. As the week passed, we're going to see what you guys have been up to, starting with Mr. Halden. What have you been up to this week?
He's been keeping himself occupied with the studio and painting some new stuff, thinking of new ideas to finish off more of the murals for De Noche. So he's been sketching out some stuff, I just contemplating, and was actually thinking of heading down there because he wanted to speak to Carmen.
Okay. You make your way, or you reach your destination. Carmen, would you like to set the scene for me?
Sure. Prior to this visit, you were used to a closed down de noche, which you were able to just come in. It would only be the bare minimum employees just getting everything set up and finalized for the opening night, which approached a lot quicker than you anticipated. And tonight is actually that grand opening. There is a line out the door, and you feel that familiar pull that you felt that first night that you arrived at you ever visited De Noche back when it was in Dunedin in the neutral zone. There is party music, there is people laughing, dancing. You can see that this place is busting now. And you can see that above the banner, like above the entrance, there's a banner, De Noche Grand Opening theme, and the theme is Hurricane Party, because we Floridians now. And as you approach, there will be the typical security. They recognize you at this point, though, so they're just gonna let you in, wave you in. And you'll be directed to the third floor balcony where Carmen is currently taking up residence. Do you go up?
Absolutely.
When you go up the outdoor staircase to the third floor bar, it's an open air bar with just like a basic canopy to shield from rain. Despite the hurricane having already come through and there not being rain this evening, they did set up the sprinkler systems to do a light misting on everyone, so it's very much a wet party. Everyone's got a damp look going on. You only got to be in there a few minutes before you're already starting to have like wet hair and things like that. Carmen is overlooking the fruits of her labor at the balcony. She's wearing a green backless halter top with some denim shorts. You can see very clearly for the first time that she has a tattoo on her lower back. That's right, girl got a tramp stamp. It's a rose with thorns on it that just like basically do the typical spread across the lower back. Wearing heels. She's got a very dewy, wet makeup look this evening and just dampened hair as well. And she sees you approaching and gives a waggle of her hands.
As he makes his way up, he's looking around. Miss Alvarez, you clean up nicely. And this place is booming.
Well, when you advertise to the mortals downstairs that you have $2 Hurricane Helenas, they are definitely going to pile in. They like cheap alcohol discounts, apparently.
Helena, was that on purpose?
Oh no, it was totally a typo.
Oh, that happens. Proofread.
So I got a proofread. It got past me this time.
Happens to the best of us.
So
no
regrets. So what are you enjoying the part? Just here to party, or did you come for business?
A little bit of both.
Well, let's get the business out of the way then, because I want to kind of enjoy the night.
It'll be quick, but not exactly painless, at least not on my end. Is it safe to talk up here?
Yeah, third floor. When I'm around, third floor is pretty much just who I let up here. They don't.
Excellent.
They don't tend to like me anymore downstairs. A little unnerved by me, but that's fine.
Why? What'd you do?
I come off as a little bit unsettling to the kind now. So I try to keep my distance.
Well, actually, that kind of leads into the business. Now, obviously, our particular family has a certain set of skills.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find a way to kind of shore up my lack thereof.
Oh god, you're not a seer, are you?
It's not exactly how she put it.
Are you
but
quick? Are you at least quick?
quick enough.
You're just saying more things to disappoint me.
Like I said, it wasn't going to be painless.
Who raised you?
A very contentious woman.
Then she fucked up because even a contentious woman knows better. Alright. So you don't know how to lure them in, essentially.
No, but I kind of liked it that way because in my skill set, being unnoticed was far outweighing than being seen. But now, given everything, I need to fix that.
Are you wanting to lure or are you wanting to deter? Because we can do both.
I would say more the deter, to be honest.
I'm not that good at that one, but I know the fundamentals because I know a few of the family who can do it. Like our Primogen, for one, she's very good at getting people to deter from her. It's whatever. She doesn't like people either. Alright, so and she'll just gesture down to the crowd below. Look at all those mortals down there. They are here for us. You gotta treat it that way. Tell me, when's the time you feel most confident?
Usually when I'm in the middle of stealing something.
All right. Utilize it. Feel it. Wear it as a trendy outfit. Wear it as your skin. Wear it as your attitude. That confidence is you. And will it through your blood. Because it's in your blood. Example. And she's going to look down at the crowd and immediately just activate awe. And I will roll. What hunger would Carmen be at, Storyteller?
One should be fine.
Okay. Ooh, that's garbage. I'm gonna spend a willpower. It's not giving me the option to re-roll, so I'm just gonna roll 3 dice. Because I can do better than that. Ah. That's not good. Alright,
You can do a little better than that.
4 successes. 4 successes!
And you're just trying to...
I'm just trying to get their attention.
It's mostly mortals. 4 is plenty. As you pop off your ability, almost all of them, their eyes seem to turn almost mechanically toward you as they are drawn to your presence.
There are those in our bloodline who can also use this confidence, this allure in a deterrence matter. They can use it to intimidate, to even scare them away. I prefer the attention. I like the attention. I live off the attention. But there are some of us that don't like the attention, like yourself, which I don't understand, but whatever. A thing you have to realize, though, is when you lure them in, sometimes you can only lure one at a time. And sometimes the attention you garner could be considered a little iffy, like Masquerade breachy. Like if Isabel had done something more souped up than what I'm doing right now, she'd probably have them all on their knees crying tears of absolute ecstasy. A few Toreador can do that. Some of them can scare them so effectively that they just freeze in place or run away in terror.
Did she do something to the picture?
Yes, she did.
That explains it.
It's insane. I don't know what she did to it, but it's almost like part of her presence is imbued into the photo. And I live for it. It's why I keep it on my desk all the time. It's like I have a piece of her still, even though she's gone.
That explains how the hell that whammied the hell out of me.
Here's the thing about the limitations of what we can do, though. And she's going to pick out just one random mortal from the crowd, and she'll rouse and use entrancement on him just to pick him off and kind of she'll waggle her finger to lure him up.
Yeah, he just kind of zones in, sees your gesture, and looks around for a moment and slowly walks toward you before picking up the pace and approaching. And
then as soon as he starts hitting the stairs, she's going to make sure to put a call into security to physically threaten him with violence if he tries to get a step closer. Because with presence, if they're threatened with bodily harm, it wears off.
Okay. Yeah. Guy gets in his way, kind of puts his hand on his shoulder, and kind of pushes him back a little bit. You hear them muttering, and the guy kind of sits there for a moment. His eyes kind of avert, and he turns, kind of lowers his head, and walks back into the crowd.
They're never going to put themselves at harm's way, Matthew.
That's good. Wouldn't want my food to hurt itself.
I mean, it's a little annoying sometimes just because, so what, there's a ditch in the way, just keep running, or just keep coming.
Or go into it.
Exactly! But they won't hurt themselves ever with what we can do. That's more of a Ventrue thing. Annoying. There are even some of us that can do this over a live feed. We don't even need to be in the same room as them. You've seen it yourself. I don't have to be in a room with you, physically with you, to be able to affect anyone. I have a line out the door, and I just opened. And I didn't really do any publicity.
Yeah, I noticed.
What's the point of advertising when I can just lure them in? It's just a waste of money.
Now that you say that, it would help with the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Lure them in. Drum up business. No one gets out of the black in their first 2 years of business. That's just not how it works.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
If you're serious about doing more of this and what I'm doing, you gotta look for a certain type of blood. You gotta look for the people who are a little bit more amorous, who are a little bit more angry, who are a little bit more passionate. Their blood is going to sing with what we need to get this going.
Oh, you should see my studio when people get going.
I might pop in then. Normally I'm not a big art fan, but that sounds fun.
And I did promise to draw you.
You did promise to draw me. Oh my god, I could be a model one night. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely, and that would definitely drum up the business too for both of us.
Yeah.
The power goes out.
The fuck?
Guessing not part of the hurricane party.
No, the power
You hear
doesn't.
People downstairs kind of beginning to panic a little bit as they're trying not go into a panic so much, but there's questions, people bumping into each other. It was pretty crowded. You hear people kind of stumbling into each other. You hear security you see flashlights, people trying to calm things down.
Great. Lovely. Love this. And she's gonna go on the radio. What's going on? Hurricane wasn't that bad. It was just a category 4 and it skimmed past us.
Not sure. Power went out. Not sure what caused it. We're sending someone to check the breaker.
Faster.
Yes, ma'am. We're on it.
And I'm guessing it's pretty dark in here.
It is pretty... yeah, it's pretty dark.
It's a nightclub. Most of the lighting would just be like ambiance.
So Matt's gonna pop heightened senses.
Okay. You don't see anything up here where you guys are at, but you can hear the people starting to panic a bit downstairs. And then everything comes back on.
He's gonna shut it off at that point in time, unless you want him to roll for it.
Yeah, I'd say roll for it.
It's gonna put a finger to her earpiece. Jennifer, was it just a short power outage? Or are people fucking with me?
Everything was turned off.
Someone turned it off?
Yep. Yes, ma'am. You might want to come down and see this.
Interesting. Okay. I'll let Lekar finish up his roll first. Ooh, buddy.
Yeah, even with the reroll.
Yeah. It is unpleasant. It hits you pretty hard. You manage to finally turn it off, but it does leave you a little off balance for a moment.
Matt? Matt! Hey!
Yeah, I'm good.
Alright, shake it off. Apparently, we've got some company downstairs. Do you want to come with? I think that we might need to deal with something together.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go.
Okay. She's gonna start heading downstairs and kind of guiding Matt since he's suffering from tinnitus currently.
You make your way down into the main room. As you look out, you see most of the people are starting to calm down. People are starting to kind of get... Security has mostly gotten everything to dial down. But you do see there's a lot of people, particularly toward the mural, that seem a little concerned. And when you guys look over and see the wall that Matt has spent a significant amount of time on over the last couple of weeks, you just see in thick red paint marked over the wall, Belagambo is here.
She's gonna look. She's gonna basically be looking very pointedly and a little predatorily at Matt, knowing some of what's going on with him. Care to explain?
He's just staring, and he's getting increasingly more and more angry looking. And without looking away from it, he's gonna say something to Carmen. A ghost from my past that is determined to die.
Matthew, I'm going to be very, very clear when I say these words. Deal with it, because it's affecting my business now. And if I have to deal with something like this frequently, I'm gonna be very upset. Understand?
Don't worry, Miss Alvarez. It will be dealt with.
When you find them, I would love to see what you do with them, personally.
There will be a show.
Good, because this was very disrespectful to me, and I do not tolerate any disrespect in my establishment. Hospitality is very important to me. And she's gonna just look at the kind, popping awe, just be like, oh, don't worry about it, everyone. It's fine. Just enjoy the party. You know what? I'm covering everyone's next drink. Just keep the good vibes going. Just don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. We'll get whoever needs to get involved.
They all immediately seem to kind of calm down at your reassurances. The music starts playing again, and it's almost like nothing happened.
Miss Alvarez,
Yes?
how would you like to be my +1 to a party?
Sure. I like a good party. Sometimes they end up a little bloody when I go, though.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Excellent. Just let me know what to wear.
I'll be sure to give you details.
And she'll head back upstairs and leave Matt to wallow, I guess, over his art being destroyed.
What is on Matt's mind as Miss Alvarez departs?
Knowing that Louis is targeting him directly and now coming to places that are disrupting everyone around him. He's angry that he did this, but he's more hurt by the fact that a person who was so steeped in art and knew the value of what we did would put the disrespect of desecrating someone else's work. Despite the fact that we forged other people's work, he's mostly just devastated that he would go through with something like that.
Where do you go from here?
He's going to begin heading himself back to the studio, but then he's going to decide against it and then just go right to the Ascent.
As you make your way to the Ascent, we are going to shift scenes. Where does Drake find himself this evening?
Drake's currently sitting by Jackson, seeming deep in thought for a moment, as he's pondering over what the threats from Victor mean, and of course working with the one ally he trusts at the moment.
he seems to not be quite as busy as last time you saw him. He doesn't have the things that he's going over, nobody there to meet with him. He's just kind of observing things as he sits. You are with him, and he kind of you don't often visit this frequently. What's going on?
I've been trying to think about a couple things, if I'm being honest. Seems that Victor fellow's got a bit more going on than I thought.
How do you figure?
Well, I was hoping that maybe he was a bit of an offshoot vine, so to speak, but it would seem that little tot is a full-on representative trying to track me down. It would seem that we've got some plants coming our way, friend.
Well, do we need to pack up and leave?
No, I think if we leave now, it's going to undermine everything that we've done so far. Not to mention, I do have a responsibility because I do probably let the people I've been working with, my recent clients, know that there's a danger coming. I'm not too especially worried that they'll get involved, but you know how it is. You work a job, you have a reputation to uphold, and if I don't tell them, that just looks bad on me.
I understand letting them know that something might be coming, but we may want to consider reputation don't mean much if you're dead.
That's true, but at the same point, we are in Cam territory. It's not an easy thing to just blatantly throw those traditions of theirs straight in their face, even for the Baha'i.
No, but you've been around long enough to know that even the Cam don't follow their own rules.
I do know it, yeah. That said, yeah, you know me, Jackson. I'm not exactly a runner.
I'm with you, whatever you decide.
Drake will lean forward, clapping Jackson on the shoulder. I appreciate it, man. Simpler times, right? Used to be just fighting and chatting, and you nearly killing me when you found out I was a Bahari.
Yep. Well, still happens. We're the ones running from the Bahari now.
True. I'm not sure they know much about you, my friend, so you might be in a better position to stay out of it if you want. Me, though...
I'm not gonna let you have all the fun.
A good man. Oh, man. Ultimately, I think we gotta take a wait-and-see approach. I'm just not sure how to go about it, really. Clearly, this Victor's a go-between, but other than that, I'm not sure what's here now and what's coming.
You said when we spoke last, this group of people you're working with seem to have some kind of history with this Victor.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm exactly the type of person that they want to tell deep secrets to. But I could at least maybe plant the seed, so to speak, that's maybe Victor might be someone to pay more attention to than they already are.
I'll have the guys keep an ear out.
All I care about is that I don't find this warehouse exploded with you in the fire, you know what I mean?
Well, take care of it quick and we shouldn't have too much trouble.
Yeah. Hey, if you get the chance, I need to get in talk with the Brewha Primogen at some point. I'd really appreciate it if you could. I haven't really, me. I'm not a man for contacts so much as I am action. If you hear he's looking for me, let him know that I'm more than happy to talk to the man.
I could probably arrange a meeting for the two of you. I'll let you know right now, though, compared to most of the family, he's got a bit of a stick in his ass.
Oh. Well, then I guess I'll tread a bit more carefully. Honestly, Jackson, I mainly just wanted to warn you. Sorry I sat on it so long. Just, me, it takes me some time to plan out, and I'm more getting things done than I am a master planner.
No, we don't plan much for nothing. We just kind of roll with the punches.
Wonder how many they're gonna send. If a gigantic flood of people come in, that's gonna be quite noticeable.
They probably won't send a bunch. They'll probably just send one who's good at their job.
Sounds exciting. I wonder how they'll fare against me.
Don't be too keen on finding out.
But, finding out sometimes the fun part. Plus, you can learn a lot.
Then we come back to what you learn don't matter if you're dead.
Fair enough.
We roll with the punches, but try looking before you punch.
Fair.
How did that job go?
Drake will rub the back of his head. Well, I might have gone a little too excited and brushed the back of a.
That good, huh?
Oh, well, I mean, I punched a hole in a couple things.
Were you supposed to?
It's debatable. The bigger problem was accidentally crushing the the little ghoul drivers in my excitement to get to it turns out, Ravnos that was attached to the truck.
You destroyed camp property?
I think they were ghouls. They might not have been ghouls. I'm not really sure, but yeah, there was a bit more than paste left of them. And technically, it was Anarch property.
Fair enough.
I didn't make that great an impression, if I'm being honest. I guess I've been sitting around too long.
Really gotta work on your improv.
Well, me, my comedy has a few more screams to it.
So what are you gonna do from here?
Well, suffice to say, you're right. As much as I know what I'm good at, it's probably best not to handle this alone, and I definitely don't want you dragged in without at least knowing that we got the resources we need. I'll probably talk to this group, see what they think, and most likely handle it night by night. This isn't something we can just brush aside, after all.
All right. Keep me posted.
Drake will stand up, putting on his cowboy hat. Hey, Jackson. Been a good many nights. Whatever comes, I'm glad I kicked your ass in Chicago.
I remember that a little differently, but Sure.
Good man. Well, I'll be seeing you, my friend.
See you around. As you are making your way out of the building, please give me a wits and awareness.
Three.
Okay. You step outside. And sitting at your feet, as you step out of the door, are a very beautiful pair of elegant shears. As you look around, you don't see anybody. But with this, you receive a message loud and clear. It's time to trim the garden. And with that, we will shift scenes. Maggie, where did we find you this evening?
She is sheltering probably somewhere near the bay, because she had some original plans that got turned upside down by the hurricane. But she is relatively alone. Her ghoul is off working as per usual, and she's kind of fiddling with a ring around her finger as she's kind of watching the ocean and glancing around on occasion, and then looking back into the where the water is. When she assures herself that she is alone and not being watched, she's going to look out and activate her sense of the unseen, slide on a pair of sunglasses, and activate her oblivion sight.
Go ahead and... Oh, just a second. First, go ahead and give me what's an awareness.
Gotcha. That's 3.
Okay. You use the Oblivion Sight. You don't see anything immediately around you, but you do see off in the water what appears to be shadows kind of floating on the surface of the tide that weren't there before you activated them. Occasionally you see what appears to be like silhouettes of arms reaching away from the shadow and then falling back into the depths.
Do they look similar to those shades that she's been seeing?
A little bit, yeah.
And they're just reaching out. They're not reaching to, like, any particular direction.
They seem to be reaching toward the shore.
There are some mental notes that are made. There's a little crease in her brow. She'll kind of deactivate her Oblivion sight. And start to pace about. She has been trying to get out and look at everything as Amethyst had instructed her.
Mm-hmm.
And some days it's easier than others. People can be a little dissuaded by her presence for one reason or another. She's a fairly creepy person in a general sense.
As you kind of got,
No, go on.
I say, as you kind of glance about these things on your mind, you notice something you haven't noticed before. You look back toward the city. And you don't see a full shape. But looking back, seeing some of the buildings, you see a large shadow seems to kind of pass. You only see its presence as it is pressed against the buildings, but something large seems to move across and then out of view.
Which direction was it going in?
South.
Okay. She's gonna kind of pull her jacket on a little bit more and head out of wherever she is taking shelter in and see if she can follow it to some degree.
Okay. Give me we're gonna improvise a pool. Go ahead and give me what's in Oblivion.
Okie dokie. Can I blood search?
Please do.
I get hungrier. Is 3 enough? I'll accept it. Yep, 3. I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
When did I even hit that? Okay. As you are moving, it is moving relatively quickly, but you manage to maintain your path. You manage to continue to see its movements. As you continue to follow it, you suddenly lose track. Like, not lose track of it. It's less you have lost it where you're following it and more to it just stops. You do not see the presence anymore, but it's just because it stopped being present. You know that you were on its tail.
Okay.
But as you are here, that's when you finally take a moment to really kind of pay attention to your surroundings. You don't know how long you've been moving, but you have now made it kind of into the downtown St. Petersburg area. And as you are looking about, there appears to be a sizable procession, a funeral procession happening here. You see that there are people kind of surrounding the proceedings, you can feel the sense of mournful dread that is present in this area. You hear off in the distance something that could be very easily misconstrued with the sound of traffic or the water breaking on the shore. But, and I think it's because you have kind of had the experiences you've been having over the last few weeks. Underneath those sounds, there's kind of underlying a mournful kind of groan that seems to cling to the area, and then you feel this sensation of that dread lift as all the mourners seem to stop holding expressions of sadness, stop crying. They almost become apathetic to the proceedings they're watching. Some even turning and going away.
Okay. So as she's watching basically this spirit or shade or whatever it is basically feed off of the grief and pull it from the mortals to the degree that they no longer feel it. And they start to flake off of the funeral procession. And then the presence lifts. How many people are left in the procession?
If you hang around to watch the proceedings, you see where there were probably, for these like 4 individuals that it's for, looks like some people who may have been harmed out of town going a little further west during the hurricane, didn't make it home. There's roughly 60 people here for the 3 of them, but by the time they have gotten to just like saying words, there might be 15. As many people just seem to, almost like they lost interest in a movie they were watching, got up and walked out of the theater.
Okay. Maggie is gonna kind of pull the hood up on her clothes and to continue following it, like she is a distant sort of mourner. Because these stories still deserve to be respected, and their deaths deserve to be remembered. Even if someone or something is using the deaths of this tragedy to feed itself.
So you
Even if
continue
she's
to
one of
follow.
those.
So you continue to follow the procession.
Mhm.
Okay. It goes on for maybe 30 more minutes, and then they're lowered to the ground, and the remaining people, no one stays. Once it's done, they all leave.
She is going to slide her sunglasses back on and activate Oblivion Sight again. After making sure no one's looking at her. And see if any of the people that had passed are still clinging, or if she should leave as well.
As you are observing them, waiting to see anything, you see from behind their stones emerge featureless shadows that look much like the shadows you've been experiencing all through the city. Rise up and move north and flicker out of sight.
Okay. Okay. I don't like that. Okay. Gonna deactivate Oblivion Sight. Gonna keep Sense the Unseen going. And she is going to start to casually make her way back. And, just start to pull out her phone and, like, go through her contacts for a moment. There's been a minute since she's actually contacted her sire to update him on the various ongoings of her adventures down here. Probably not since she actually moved here. But after seeing that, she thinks she needs to percolate a little more before actually telling him anything. So she kind of slides her phone back into her pocket.
Okay. Where do you go from here?
We're in downtown St. Pete. She can probably gradually make her way back to the Ascent from there.
Okay. From there, we transition again. Sophie, where do we find you this evening?
Sophie has a mop and what looks like a large bucket and some tarps. And she is sitting outside of a familiar hatch that she could not open before. And she's just sitting next to it, silently thinking about if she really has the guts to open it.
You are looking at that dreaded entrance again. A few choice memories come to mind. Some good, mostly bad. You can feel what's down there. If you had a Geiger counter, it'd be going wild right now. What is on Sophie's mind, and what does she do?
Sophie is thinking about her frenzying moment and how Nick acted, and how at one point she saw that side of Duncan. And having been through that, understands that it's not necessarily something that can be fully controlled, and that she has much more sympathy for Nick in the way that she had sympathy for Duncan, and knew that that wasn't really Duncan in that moment. So she stands and she bends over to lift it. It's actually much easier to open than she thought it would be. It's taken too long for her to come back here. She grabs the mop and the rest of the materials, and she descends down into the darkness. After a small while, she sees the open room. She's quite happy that she does not have to breathe so she does not have to smell what occurred here. She's going to take a right into a closed room with a door that hasn't been locked in a long time. And she finds a gold pair of cufflinks in a dresser drawer and puts them into her purse. She also picks up a book from a much larger, kind of extravagant room. There's a large bed in there with the whole canopy, and there's a quite extensive library, mostly of French books. She picks up the book, Lovers Are Never Losers. She takes that in her purse and puts it near the entrance. And she begins to work on clearing up what looks like mostly mush in the kind of grassy filled area that looks like it's enclosed by a fence. And then she, after a while, using the tarps and the mop, she walks up to the cage. So what does Sophie front of the cage floor?
Sorry, I broke up just a little bit at your question. Could you repeat it?
What does Sophie see in front of the cage floor, in front of the large iron bars?
You see some of the cage has been worn or broken. You remember what used to be kept within it. You remember his voice. As you look down and you see where part of the fencing is broken. You see a very painful reminder of things that have happened, and you see a home that wasn't much different than your own for a very long time.
So does she see in front of the iron bars, is there still a body, or is it just ash?
It has not ashed. You do see what has mostly rotted to bone with a fence posting rammed into the chest. You see a skull with the two prominent fangs. The eyeless sockets seeming to peer through you.
Sophie will approach the skeletal form and lays one of the tarps down next to it. She kneels down and places her fingers around the fence posting, but looking at what's left, there's still a part of her that thinks that if she were to remove it, he might just grab her and place her back where she was. So she takes her hand off of the makeshift stake and kind of shuffles the bones as much as possible onto the tarp. She starts folding the tarp over the body, and she looks at the skull, and she gives it a quick little slap, and she says, "That's for that, and for lying to Duncan. You know, you shouldn't have done that. And what you did to me was very bad as well. But you could have avoided it. You really could have. This didn't have to happen. And now, I'm the one who has to deal with it because your stupid father has decided to come back. He didn't have to either. You could have told us you were messaging the top that you had communications. But no. You had to keep us in the dark. Well, now you're going to be in the dark forever. This is goodbye for now. Or, forever, I guess. Unless you are somehow hunting Duncan, maybe. I don't know. I'm being hunted. Not that you would care. I'm just, Right. Well then. And she takes the tarp and completely covers the body and starts rolling it up and places it in a bucket with the rest of the slop that was left of the poor rabbits. She slides it over towards the ladder, and she takes a rope and ties it around the bucket so that she can hoist it over her shoulders. She grabs her purse with the book and the cufflinks and attempts to climb out, hoisting this bucket with the horrific contents out.
As you are moving everything, getting ready to leave this place, you look down and you noticed amongst the muck something shining. Just barely catching the light.
She sets down the bucket on the ground and kind of slithers the rope back over her head. I doubt you would have tongs in here, would you? Didn't really. You had no interest in cooking, did you? Sophie is going to look around in Kristoff's room for any sort of shovel-like material. If she can't find anything that really suits her needs, she'll use some of the other books that he had that she didn't particularly have a fondness for to try to fish what's down there out.
Probably find an old poker that you'd seen him use on Duncan a few times. You kind of shift through the muck and bring it out, and it is a thin gold chain with a key still on it that he must have dropped when everything escalated. The memory comes back very hard all of a sudden. You hear him say, "This time, Sophie, I tire of your antics. We can survive in the dark. We always have." You remember the dread of what was getting ready to happen to you. And then almost as quickly as it started, it was over.
She will use the poker and fling it across the room toward the reactor. Well, too bad for you. I still like singing. And she will pick up the rope of the bucket again and lead it over her shoulders, and then continue to attempt to hoist this up and out of the bunker.
It's a little awkward, but you make your way up out of the bunker.
She then heads towards the bluffs near the estate where the Clews, current living Clews, live.
You reach the estate. It's pretty late in the evening. Most the lights in the house are off except for the one upstairs where a particular relative of yours is still trying to make a streaming career work. What do you do as you arrive?
She will head straight toward the ocean, very carefully climb down the kind of dirt cliff face past the estate, and she is going to dump most of the contents of the bucket into the ocean, but she will take the skull with her. She does not throw that.
So you wade out into the water, dump the contents, keep the skull, and bring it back.
Yes.
Noted. So, what is on Sophie's mind as you return with your token?
As always, did not think this through, did I? Even now, you are being just as bothersome. What am I going to do with this? If I take the teeth out, maybe maybe that won't be as bad, but that's still. I mean, it's old enough; it shouldn't be a huge problem. Maybe Maggie will know what to do. I'm sure she's disposed of plenty of these. Yes, I'll just ask her nonchalantly, how kindred typically are taken care of. You know, Kristoff, another one of us, Nick, he at least had the decency to completely go to dust. Don't know why you didn't. Frustrating, but it'll be alright. And she puts the skull into her purse and she starts to head to the ascent.
Considering the rudeness of the kindred who have died here this evening, we will shift to the ascent, and then we will take a quick break. Thank you everyone for tagging along so far. We will see you in about 5 minutes.
St. Petersburg by Night is brought to you through collaborations with our partnered vendors: Wolfpack Dice, Ember Fox Dice, Dragon Ink Dice, Bear of the Bard, Champs Tramps, Panchi Artista, and Chromatic Creations US. Links to our partnered vendors, as well as our Twitch and YouTube channels, can be found on our website, stpetbynight.com. The official theme song for St. Petersburg by Night is Vampire by Faith and Failure. You can find them at faithandfailure.com. You can follow SPbN on all socials with the hashtag StPeteByNight. If you wish to support our program, you can do so at ko-fi.com/StPeteByNight to help keep the stories rolling.
Welcome back. Now, we are going to go ahead and bring our coterie together at the ascent. You all have just had your conversations, encounters, what have you, and are now regrouping for the first time in a week. You notice that Bellatrix is not here, but throughout the week, through some correspondence, she has told you she had some business with Charlie to attend to. So you assume she's now doing her whip duties, leaving just you four. The scene is yours.
Sophie will walk into the room of the ascent and, seeing Maggie and Matthew, she's quite happy. She sees that Drake is there, which is a little surprising, but she points to Drake and she says, "Wonderful. I may have a job for you upcoming, but first, Maggie, there's a small problem. I would really appreciate if you would take a look at it. If we could go to the bathroom, actually."
Okay. She kind of looks Sophie over, like she's trying to see if she has anything on her person that could be shown to her in a bathroom. But she kind of just nods and kind of like jerks her head in the direction of where it is, like saying "after you."
Yes, wonderful. So she grabs Maggie's hand and leads her to the bathroom and closes the door. Apologies. I just, I'm not so sure I can completely trust Drake. He's very new, although his violence will be an asset, potentially. I have a small... Yes, I have
Just a moment. She's going to lead her into the bathroom, close the door, kind of pull out her phone, pull like a white noise kind of video on her phone, set it down near the door. I don't know of his capabilities, but I don't like underestimating people, and I don't like eavesdroppers. So go on.
Oh, right. Yes, well, actually, I have just the thing in mind. I've had this issue in the past, actually. So Sophie will begin singing. And she takes out a piece of paper from her purse, and she writes to Maggie that when Edwin had the issue where he needed to be torpored, Duncan took it upon himself to call in a favor to have one of his contacts pose as Edwin. And when Duncan went to torpor his friend, unfortunately, the lad passed away. And then Sophie will pull out the skull from her purse. And then Sophie will stop singing. So, Maggie, I was wondering, do I need to worry about this spot on my back? And she'll point to the skull. How would you get? How would best you maybe get rid of that? Is it something I should worry about? Particularly this section here, and she'll point to the fangs.
Well, I can probably refer you to a good dermatologist. So let me take a look at it. And she's going to activate Oblivion Sight and sense the unseen on the weird skull that she is looking at now.
You see that there is some decay, but you see it appears to be like missing the bottom jaw. It has 2 prominent fangs. You could tell this is the body of an old dead kindred, or the head of an old dead kindred.
Okay, but it has no like weird aura about it. Doesn't have like emanating anything.
No, this thing is incredibly vacant.
She's gonna kind of like, may I touch it?
Yes, you can touch my skin, Maggie. Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking a look at this.
Maggie kind of just give her a very strange look, take the skull and start to like observe it very closely, because now she's just fascinated.
Mostly I'm concerned with disposing of that spot correctly. You know, I wouldn't want it to interrupt my daily masks.
Is there anything she's able to really discern from like looking a little closer at it? And from different angles?
Give me intelligence and medicine. You can use your specialty with it.
Cool. Alright, that is 3 successes. I spent a willpower.
Okay. You do notice something a little peculiar around the right eye socket. You see what looks to be a pretty clean groove that looks like it probably smoothed out over time. But you recognize this when you were studying a long time ago. This is typically something that is seen in corpses of someone who experienced a very clumsy lobotomy.
Okay. Well, I can certainly refer you to someone that can give you some more expertise on this. But that mark
Yes,
is
mostly I just want to get rid of it.
Oh, well then I can see what I can do about it.
Oh, that'd be really wonderful. Would you like me to hold on to it for now?
Well, it is on your back, so I would assume you would be able to hold on to it.
Right, yes. You are so incredibly intelligent, Maggie. Thank you so much for taking a look at this. We should return to the.
We will see about its removal when I get to that dermatologist I mentioned before.
Wonderful, thank you. And Sophie will put the skull back into her purse and open the door.
Before you come out, we shift back to the main room of the Ascent, where the other two were left alone. After Maggie and Sophie leaves, what happens in this room?
Matt is currently on the balcony, just kind of leaning over, staring off into space, thinking about things, and contemplating how to just get this mess over with.
Drake has been leaning against the wall after the whirlwind that was Sophie, like mid raising of his hat and greeting, puts it back down. It's just like, I mean, I've heard about needing to power the nose, but I didn't think we were quite it was quite as necessary for us.
Some things never change, but apparently they always do.
Oh, so mysterious. Otherwise, I'd say Drake's patiently waiting. Although he is messing with his currently sheathed coat patch.
Very well. After a few minutes, it's hard to tell what's being said, but you can hear Sophie kind of speaking loudly enough that her voice can be heard, but nothing very clear. And then after a few, the door opens and the two of them come back out.
Drake, wonderful. I may have a potential job for you if you would have it. Your muscle may come in handy.
Oh, I'm certainly not opposed to some new deals, some new assignments.
Yes, it is just to meet one of my family members is visiting down from Chicago. Bella will be setting up the meeting, but I would like just an extra pair of hands there. Just as extra protection. I've never met him before, and you never know how meetings with kindred can go. So if he were to get a little unruly, it might be good to have some extra muscle. And I would pay you, of course, if you're interested.
Yeah, seems on the level. I certainly don't mind.
Wonderful. When Bella makes that arrangement, I will let you know. So just stay tuned for that. Good evening, Mr. Halden.
Sophie, it's good to see you.
Well, it's wonderful to see you as well. What have you been doing?
Well, contemplating vengeance. Annoyed that I have to start over again, essentially. Typical Rose stuff.
What does this have to do with your stalker?
Indeed. He decided to do something that I didn't think he'd have the balls to do. So apparently he has taken what brains he had and removed them from his body entirely.
Does he have your attention?
Yes, unfortunately. He's had it for a very long time now, so I don't know what benefit pissing me off further is going to get him other than disemboweled?
I am unsure what people are into these days. And she'll sit down.
Just to be clear, that was a turn of phrase, Mr. Halden, correct? If our brains are damaged, it is irreparable, correct? Or do we heal from that now?
No, Miss Clews, it was a turn of phrase. He was always very smart, so the fact that he went and did something very stupid makes me question on whether or not he's lost his mind. Metaphorically.
Do you think he's working in this alone?
Well, that's a good point. He may have gotten himself a new crew, but he liked to keep his circles small.
Well, you never know. With our sort, it's easy to lose your mind.
Or perhaps he's just trying to get into yours. Perhaps getting desperate for your attention or for you to make a rash mistake and be vulnerable.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, he could have just, because he's apparently been following me for a very long time, he could have very easily just called me up and like, hey, Matt, how you doing? Sorry I got you thrown into prison. What's up? Instead, it's taking credit for all of my work, drawing unwanted attention to most of my career, and then defacing my newest piece and pissing off family. Now, I'm sure she would absolutely love to be the one to twist his head off like a wine bottle, but I think I'm going to be greedy and take this one myself.
All right. Well, then where do we get started? There's this gala. Both of you mentioned, actually. Are we starting there?
Yeah, I think that's the safest bet. I want to deal with him publicly before I handle him privately.
I see. So, Maggie will kind of look to Sophie. Your brother, he, owns the venue?
Oh, well, he just acquired his own home. Yes, so he's hosting a housewarming party.
I see. So that means we would have control of the venue. Matthew, if you feel that you are, and I mean no offense by this, stable enough in order to manage the social scene with him, you'd be able to manage that from there. And, Mr. Monahan, I'm fairly certain that we would have some security at the event. Having someone inside.
As long as
Devlin
there's
Of
no
course.
our
trucks.
security.
Of course. I also think I got some information that y'all could do something with. A bit more to the side, but I have been made aware here and there that y'all have an interest in Mr. Adams.
That is Gray's partner. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't speak for who is and isn't his partner, but I can speak for who he belongs to. See, I don't know what y'all's dealings with the man is, but one thing's for sure. The Lillans have quite the interest.
No,
This
who-
man is... Have y'all ever heard of a group called the Bahari?
I think Maggie would, but I don't want to make assumptions.
Yeah, give me intelligence and occult.
Cool. I'm gonna spend another willpower. I got 4 successes.
You know that it is a cult of some kind. They tend to primarily focus on the worship of Lilith. I think you'd know like general information about them, but like or like general rumors as well, but like the very specific things about their structure, a little fuzzy for you.
Okay. Her eyes would narrow a little bit in recognition, but she wouldn't interrupt Drake as he continues speaking.
Drake
He
is
has her
going to
attention.
Drake is going to pop a couple of the connectors for the sheath, pulling forth to show the Lilin symbol on it, on his khopesh. You see, the followers of Lilith are quite an interesting bunch. The most important thing that I think is relevant to this is that Mr. Adams is one of them. And suffice it to say, I was as well. Let's just say we had a bit of a disagreement. Not Mr. Adams and I, but, well, I don't agree with the way that they've tarnished the Night Mother. Mr. Adams would be a man of a tinder of pain, shall we call it, which, if this gray fellow is involved with him, I'm pretty sure it's not a good thing. On top of that, the reason I bring it up is that it would seem that he's a bit of a fanatic and has called in at least one other cult member into the city. I'm not sure how this would affect y'all's plans, but considering that y'all were my clients and that I associate with y'all, it'd hardly be fair or good for my reputation if I kept that from you.
So when you say you had a falling out with these people and he may have brought somebody from them in, do we have to worry about people knocking on your door, i.e. our door?
Well, I don't believe that they would bother with y'all, in all honesty. y'all are too well known and too public. The Bahari don't really like to be seen outside of those already in the garden. On top of that, the way we operated was more personal, on an individual basis. We are artists that paint, about lessons through that pain, by pruning away that which does not serve the Night Mother.
When you say garden, do you mind clarifying or elaborating? Is this a physical garden in which your cult meets?
Drake will raise his hand, going, in metaphorical sense as much as sometimes literal. There are intricacies to the terminology that I don't think is really that relevant. More important is that a garden is basically the flowers that are raised to serve Lilith. It is usually the group.
Question. What flavor Kool-Aid did you drink for that? Because I need to know what to avoid.
Don't get me wrong. I do follow the Night Mother. Just don't agree with the tender so much as others might. And it kind of caused some problems.
Are members of your faith particularly sensitive to outsiders knowing some of their practices?
Yeah, yes and no. They believe all of us. Hell, I believe it. All of us are not actually of Cain. They'd be more upset if a Cainite was to learn of them, but overall, as long as it doesn't interfere with the gardens or the greater gardens, generally they'll not mind. So that could change. If I'm being honest, it's situational.
Right.
Oh, that Lilith.
Maggie will look over to Matthew. I was under the impression that Gray and his partner shared a faith.
Now that you say that, Gray never really did outright say what his beliefs were. But seeing if what Mr. Monahan here is saying about it, Victor, it would explain some things.
I do know he spoke often of a Michael.
Storyteller, would that ping to Drake at all? Doubt it, but might as well ask.
And I'm sure you've heard of the Nephilim, but it's not what your focus was. You probably know just like generally a very light amount of lore on the subject, but it's not much at all. I think when you think of them, it's kind of just like self-righteous, think they're better than other people kind of thing, and that's about as much attention as you pay to it.
Yeah, then that name does ring a bit of a bell. I can't say I know much, but There's a group that likes to fashion themselves special. I believe they were called the Nephilim, but I can't say I know all that much. I can say Victor ain't one of them.
Gray always tried to let him be. It always felt like a pet project, like he was trying to fix him. So, if he's connected to either one of these groups, it could be that Gray was trying to get him to convert, maybe? Go back?
I can certainly say he has no intention of moving away from the taint in the cult already. I doubt another cult would entice him so.
Well, all I know is my only plan for that man is to remove him from existence, but...
No, I'm fine with that. Instead, the taint needs to be pruned itself, so... And he's part of it. That's good enough for me.
Speaking of pruning, if someone were to be in this cult and decide it wasn't for them and leave, similar to what you've done, what is the usual response? Have they? Is it persona non grata, or do they attempt to keep you there? What?
Well, on a more localized level, generally, if you just disappear, you disappear. There might be some that pursue if you didn't do anything to upset any of the gardens. Generally, you're kept an eye out for, but the flowers are generally not thrown away unless they are a blight on the garden. If you upset the garden, on the other hand, and maybe prick a few fingers, that's a bit of a different story. If you prick a few fingers in a very, very noticeable way, well, then you get me.
To speak about this in religious terms, have you been excommunicated? I need to understand how deep this threat may be.
Well, by most of the higher-ups, yes. I've come across a couple that saw what I saw, but generally, yes, I am excommunicated. However, I don't really hold to it, considering that I am still serving Lilith, and her name and her will has yet to feel like ash in my mouth. But suffice it to say, no, they don't like me very much.
So you did something, or you said that you didn't see eye to eye, so I'm guessing either you'd had enough of their bullshit, or you did something to pretty much have them kick you out, regardless.
Yeah, more the former, but not entirely the latter.
Little column A, little column B, got it.
Very much.
Did you accidentally prune some flowers like you did the other night?
Oh no, there was no accidentally about it. Look, I'm not expecting y'all to care about a powwow, but I did feel y'all would at least deserve to know the general basis of it, especially considering as it could affect you going forward. I'm nothing if not a man dedicated to my job, and my job means being up front.
Yeah, just like the other day when you were very upfront.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Okay, so we have Mr. Adams bringing outside people that may or may not attempt to trip us up or get in our way. We don't know. We haven't seen that part yet, but we'll cross that bridge when we set it on fire. We've got my issues that are definitely trying to cause me grief. And the most important thing is, and I mean this in the most respectful way, Miss Clews, but she's in desperate need of an acting class because I don't know what the hell was going on there, but I've seen enough bad acting to know that you were hiding something. But obviously, if you wanted us to know, you'd tell us.
I don't think you'd enjoy it.
Okay, I'll put it to you this way. There is nothing any of you can say right now that would cause me any kind of grief that I already don't have.
You say this individual takes credit for your works or destroys them, correct?
Well, he's apparently upgraded to destroying and defacing. And on opening night, no less.
Well, I know that Duncan is displaying some, I believe, pieces of a gallery. So perhaps if one of yours happened to be in the mix, it might be a good opportunity to catch this stalker in the act in our own defenses.
Yes, and first thing, most importantly, and again, no disrespect to any of you, not so much to that one, and he'll point at Drake. We need to go shopping.
Well, that would be wonderful.
Oh yes, balls do require a certain sort of dress code.
Well, I'm not saying the whole train and the just tasteful, nothing overly extravagant.
Or maybe extravagant, but classic and classy. I'm sure Bella will be thrilled.
Yes. Do we know any places that carry such attire at this time of night?
Well, I'm sure we can find someone. If not, I can get us in anyway.
Yes, I'm fairly certain amongst the lot of us would be able to bribe someone to keep a place open if we wanted to reserve some hours for some after-hours shopping.
We could make a whole night of it.
For the briefest moment, Matt looks at Sophie and kind of just has this internal flash where she suddenly looks like a black and white version of Lucille Ball, and then it just goes away. Yes, sounds fun.
Alright, are we doing this tonight? Are we waiting for when Bellatrix gets back from her duties?
I say we make it a family outing.
Yes, I'm sure Bella would very much like to choose, especially she always has all those pieces of jewelry and things in her hair. I think she would really quite like it. We should wait for her.
Yes, and also, if we went without her, I know I gave it to her as a joke, but I really don't want her to use the whip.
Do you think she's been practicing?
I don't know, but I am not about to pull the pin on that grenade.
I mean, I've seen the things you can do with a whip. Quite versatile.
And I've
But you
seen
know how
the
to
things
use
that
it.
whip can do, and I don't want to take any chances.
Oh, that's exactly what I was talking about.
There's well, since we are going to be waiting for Bellatrix to return from her duties, there is something that I noticed while I was walking about earlier tonight. I think I'm starting to get more of an idea of where these shades are coming from. The spooky shadows that I've been seeing recently. There seems to be this thing that consumes grief and assumedly feelings of mourning and identity, and may strip these spirits of their individuality in a sense in order to use them.
You know- Go ahead, miss.
Followed a rather large one to a funeral procession, and it seemed to make out this grievous sound. She kind of looks over to Sophie. I think you may have heard it when we were addressing your problem.
This large spirit that seems to cannibalize other spirits, that wouldn't come from, say, a particularly awful kindred, correct? Is this something that just apparates out of these feelings, perhaps in the city, or does it come from something in particular?
It may come from a kindred, but my assumption would be that I need to do further research, but normally a kindred could control it. But these are occasionally phenomenons of their own. When disasters tend to happen and a large amount of death, these sort of phenomenons can happen, but it seems to have been escalating from before the hurricane.
You know, I
And
can't.
still percolating.
You know, I can't say it's related, but it does. That sort of stripping of individuality is not exactly unknown to me, just not with spirits. It's commonly a learning process through the arts of pain and the cults. Sure, it's not related, but I felt that since it did feel familiar to the end results of that and some of our rituals, that I'd at least bring it up.
There's a knock at the door.
Matt will go answer.
Greg is holding a stake under his vest.
You
Perhaps
open the
it's-
door.
Oh wait,
Go ahead.
Bella wouldn't knock. She would just come in.
You open the door, and wearing some kind of loose, kind of baggy clothing and a face mask is Sarah. Is hi, sorry for interrupting. Is Bellatrix here? I can't get a hold of her.
Come in.
She steps inside.
And he'll shut the door. Sadly, she had duties elsewhere, so it is just us. But hopefully she'll be back soon. Are you okay?
Yes, but I am really sorry to show up unannounced, but I could really use some help.
What's wrong?
What do you need?
I got hungry. And
Like the last time?
Where?
home. The tea shop.
Is it still there?
They are.
Okay. Maggie will get up, pull her bag over her shoulder.
I think Bellatrix is going to be mad at me.
She may be, but
He's
that's only because she cares.
Matt will put hands on her shoulder and then just look at her. He'll kind of kneel down to meet her eye to eye. These things happen. She might be mad, but we will fix this.
She looks kind of scared, but she nods. Okay. I'll show you where they are.
Good.
Who all leaves to go to the tea shop?
Matt definitely is going.
Maggie's going.
Sophie will go with them.
If they all go, Drake will follow.
You make your way. It's not very far. You find tea and taro. You step. She unlocks the door, lets you guys in, closes it. They're in the reading room. This way, and she takes you back, pulls the curtain out of the way, and you see 3 bodies. 2 just look like people you don't recognize, but the 3rd is Ophelia.
Drake lets out just a very low whistle, like, that was some hunger.
I don't know what happened. I just lost myself. I think these 2 were here looking. They were just shopping. One of them accidentally nicked their hands on one of the antique kettles, and
you
I
lost
was
it.
really hungry.
Okay. Shit.
Alright.
We'll...
Let me make a phone call. Can you get their identification off of their bodies? I'll make sure to get them transported. We'll have some cover-ups. Maggie will step aside to make a phone call to Jarvis.
Matt will just text Bella emergency tea and taro.
Before you can hit send, she kind of She's going to be very mad about Ophelia.
Sophie will take her hand and she'll kneel in front of her. Now, I know this doesn't feel good right now, and I know you are very worried about what Bella will do when she hears of this, but from what I've seen, Bella cares very much about you, and she wouldn't hurt you when she was upset. She's not like some people who show their anger in violent ways. She sometimes can get very stern and yell, and in a fight she's very tenacious, but I don't think you really have to worry that much. I once had a wonderful friend who similar situation happened to him, and he hurt some very nice creatures that didn't deserve it, much like these 3 people didn't. But after, he maintained trying to be the best person that he could be, and he tried to be nice to people and not kill again. And that's what you should keep in mind. This does not define who you are in the future. Just, keep trying. We just have to keep trying, and she'll pat her on the shoulder.
My concern is, she really cared for Ophelia. They were like sisters. I don't think she's gonna handle this well. Matthew, your thumb hovering over the send, do you send the message?
She's going to have to find out one way or another. Rather her know now and get it over with than try to cover this up and make it worse.
You hit send. Go ahead.
Perhaps we can bring Sarah somewhere, maybe with her grandsire, just as a third place, where perhaps if Bella were upset, she doesn't take it out on us or some other bystanders.
So somewhere with security in case she loses her damn mind, which we know she's going to do.
Yes, which, Sarah, to clarify, she would never hurt you, but in a state of similar to how you just were, she might attempt to cause a ruckus with other people, but not you. But it may be safer if we are in some sort of neutral home.
So like the Dali, perhaps? Somewhere close?
That's a wonderful idea, Mr. Halden.
Oh, you're gonna put me in the dolly again?
I promise you, we're not going to send you away. If anything, it's to protect you in case. Okay. She's going to be angry. I know for a fact she's going to be angry. I just lost someone close to me, and I was very angry at the person that did it. This was an accident. That was an accident. But it didn't stop me from being angry at him. She's going to be angry at you, Sarah. And honestly, it's not going to entirely be her, just like this was not you. But if we take you there, it prevents one more mess from being caused by Bella. But I promise you, I will make sure that you don't go away again.
Give me charisma persuasion.
Well, he's doing that. Drake's gonna walk towards the bodies. How efficient was she at dispatching all three of them? Does it look like?
Give me wits or intelligence plus investigation.
5.
I'm gonna blood search this. Get hungrier. Three.
It doesn't take much to... You have seen a lot of death. You've seen how quickly it happens. You go back and you kind of evaluate the room, the main room of the tea shop. You see a crack in a glass case. You see a large pool of blood on the carpet. And then you see blood smearing across the case over the counter to the other side, where you see some of the display mugs have been shattered. You go back and look the bodies over. You see one, their throat has been completely ripped out. The second human, their head has little shards of glass in it. And then you see that their blood seems to have been pulled from them with such efficiency. The only visible blood on the body is what is stained to the forehead, and they are dried to a husk. And the third put up the most fight, Ophelia, but was overwhelmed. This child is strong. This child is fast. And they can drain a person within a moment. It looks like she opened one's throat, stunned the other, wrestled the third one down, came back and finished off the second.
Real quick, Drake is going to give a little tiny finger wave at Maggie and gesture with his head to another room while that resolves.
Okay. Maggie will follow after she.
As you two go to walk away, Matt, Sarah kind of nods. Okay, I'll go.
If it's any consolation, when we sent you away, it wasn't... We were trying to keep you from this world. And unfortunately, we delivered you right into the hands of someone who brought you right into it. This is not your fault.
I'm not worried about being sent away. You can see a little bit of blood starting to pool into the corner. I don't want Bellatrix to hate me.
Look, and he'll like kneel down to look up at her, and he'll kind of take her hands. She's going to be angry. Any one of us would be angry for this. But she's not going to hate you. She's going to hate that damn thing that's inside you. We all hate that thing that's inside us. It's the one that does this. It's the one that did that. You didn't cause this disaster. It did. So she's going to be angry at you, but I promise you it's not going to be directed to you.
Okay. What do I do now?
We'll get you to Edwin. We'll clean this up as best we can, and then we will see what the next night brings, if not sooner.
Okay. Drake and Maggie, you step out to another area.
He's going to lead her towards where the clear sign of the fight started. Well, I'm gonna tell y'all what to do, and I don't want to. But a few things to point out about that little lady there. He's gonna start pointing out. This is, I don't doubt, a frenzied. What I think's worth noting is this is a level of control in that frenzy that is quite unusual. That's a rather impressive bit of power and killing for just a simple frenzy. Now, don't get me wrong. The amount of devastation makes sense, but the efficiency of it, well, that comes from trained killing, ingrained ability. I don't know what y'all got with this little one, but she's dangerous.
I have no doubt.
Trickle Shug, I figured at the very least I point out what I know, and what y'all do with her is entirely up to you.
We appreciate your impulse, your
indiscretion.
input.
That said, now, this is all up to you. I think one thing, my friend is the one that runs that fight club. I'm not exactly sure what y'all think about it, but maybe some trained aggression could go a long way to her better knowing herself. And I'm sure
Perhaps that is an interesting and possibly constructive way of her learning how to use her strength, but you will have to discuss it with the person that is responsible for her.
Fair enough. Wonders for me. And when you have so much power, it seemed to be so. I assume she's fresh. She doesn't exactly act like someone who's quite used to this life.
She is young.
Understatement.
Maggie will
Well-
activate Sense the Unseen and Oblivion Sight as she looks around at the scene of the crime while she is talking to Drake.
Does she look at Drake when she does that?
She probably looks him over.
Storyteller, there's a specific effect from his lore sheet if someone uses aspects on him.
Okay, and you use an aspects.
She's using Sense the Unseen and
Yep.
Oblivion Sight at the moment.
Okay.
She's not scrying his soul or anything.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Drake's resolve is 2, so half of that would just be 1. Specifically the first cursed.
Yeah. Give me a moment. I'm having to find it. And you said your resolve is a 2?
Yep.
Okay. And what are you trying to glean from this, Maggie?
She's just trying to see if anything has remained attached here or if there are any artifacts. She's not specifically focusing on Drake, but her gaze does sweep over him because he is in the room.
There
It's more of an
is
area effect kind of deal.
something peculiar when you take a look over at Drake. It's almost as if there is something warmly kind of wrapping around him at all times. But in the moment of perceiving it, you receive the sensation of it, like a migraine, which you haven't felt in a long time, as your resolve and willpower drop by 1 until the end of the scene.
So is that a superficial damage?
It's not. It is not damage. It just drops, like your total.
Oh. Okay. Her eyes will narrow for a moment. Mr. Monahan, can you please leave the room?
Good luck and sure thing. And he will step away out of the room. Not the first time.
And she will continue to take her look around, trying to rub out the headache that is now kind of ingrained in her head.
And you're like looking over the scene.
Mm-hmm.
You see there's actually, this room lights up a bit. Not very dramatically, but there is a few presences here. This place is not unfamiliar with lingering presences. But what you do notice is kind of shimmering almost behind the counter, where you see some of the blood that was likely Ophelia's. You see this prismatic, very similar to the aura you witnessed on Bellatrix, kind of shimmering rapidly around that blood and then beginning to recede.
This shimmering, does it seem to be like the spirit that is attached to the mage thing that is attached to Bellatrix?
It did have a similar kind of presentation, but using Sense the Unseen, you're only really getting like a slight prism that seems to almost vibrate on the blood, but is receding within it.
The inside up too.
You see the image of Bellatrix almost hovering over the blood, just staring at the destroyed space. You see the face is twisted and furious, and the spirit is shaking. You watch as those same faces kind of pop out of the back of the head, and you see one finally kind of pull back as Bellatrix's form kind of leans forward. You see the image of Ophelia kind of turn, look, and then you watch as it seems to, like when glass blowing, snip off and vanish entirely. You watch as the form begins to shake violently and then vanishes.
Okay. Noted. She is going to start probably finding the identifications on these bodies and pulling them out so that she can get to work on covering up some deaths. And she's assuming that Jarvis will be on his way to provide cleanup.
It doesn't take much longer before he arrives. He shows up. Do you take all of the bodies?
And she will indicate that two of the two unknowns would need to go into the incinerator. That Ophelia would need to be preserved and awaiting Bellatrix's wishes. That.
Good.
And she would hold up the identifications. She is going to take care of the cover-ups. She just needs the bodies in the scene cleaned up.
Maggie, if this isn't a terrible time, do you mind if I give you that?
You can show Jarvis the picture. You can
Wonderful.
give it to Jarvis.
Wonderful. I'll meet him by that by the car. After Sarah, would you like to walk with me down to the dolly?
Sure.
Okay.
She will look over to Jarvis. She has something for me to study.
Understood. I will wait for you at the car.
Thank you.
He brings the little cart, loads the bodies in it, and begins wheeling them to the side where he has parked the hearse. Sarah approaches Sophie, kind of looks back at everybody, and then follows you out.
Sophie will bring her purse over to Jarvis. Jarvis, do you have a bag for this, for something for Maggie?
But of course, he goes over, opens the car, reaches in, pulls out a like black plastic bag, walks over to you, and then holds it open.
Oh, wonderful. Sophie takes out the cufflinks in the book and then just kind of dumps the contents of the purse into the bag, and then writes the purse and puts the book and the cufflinks back in. Thank you, Jarvis. You're wonderful as always. Sarah, why don't we take a walk in this nice night air?
Jarvis kind of knowingly smiles as you step away with Sarah. He tosses the bag in the back of the hearse, closes it, begins to drive off.
Thank you, Dr. Corwin.
As you are walking, Sarah seems quiet. It doesn't take long until you are on the street, getting ready to head to the deli. You approach the same area you typically do. The guards come up. One of them looks over the two of you. Do you have business with Mr. Caden?
Oh, yes. I just wanted to have a conversation with him about something that was happening downtown. He might need to be in the know, but I also just wanted to show Sarah some of the pieces that in the museum that she can't see during the day. Obviously, we had a very enlightening conversation earlier, so I thought it would be best to see it now, if you don't mind.
Well, I do believe Mr. Kane has granted your coterie access to the deli after hours. That shouldn't be a problem at all. Do you
Thank
need
you.
to see Mr. Kane first, or are you heading straight to the...
No, some of my coterie may be down here later. So I wouldn't bother him now with just the two of us. We will just take our time in the museum.
Very well. He looks over at the kid and lets you guys into the building. Sarah quietly follows you. Back at... Go ahead.
Oh, Sophie will begin to walk through the museum, and she'll begin telling Sarah a bit about what she's seen of what happened with Duncan and how she was able to look over that and forgive him, and how she's beginning to forgive Nick for what he did. And she'll go through all of that, recounting that.
How much do you tell her about what Duncan did?
She will go not into a lot of detail, because she does see Sarah as kind of a child, but she will give a fair amount of information that perhaps the rest of the coterie doesn't know.
Okay. So as you tell her this, she's kind of listening, but she doesn't talk too much. She seems, you can clearly tell she has a strong sense of worry about her, and she can't seem to shake what comes next out of her head. And I think you can read that on her pretty clearly. From there, we'll shift back to T and Taro. The bodies have been removed, taken to the mortuary. What are you guys doing now?
Spot cleaning. Maggie's basically going over what was cleaned up and making sure that there wasn't really other evidence left.
Yeah, Matt's going to assist with trying to make sure he's not going to be able to make this place perfect, but he's going to at least assist in cleaning up the mess as best he can.
It's walking back and forth between helping with that and just making sure the front is secure. There are no further problems.
You
Should
spend a
look
little
over to
time. Go ahead.
Should look over to Matthew. This child. How old is she?
As he's cleaning. Too damn young.
This was very efficient, strangely controlled.
And he'll just kind of stop mid-wipe and then look over at Maggie. You don't think this was accidental?
Oh, I do think it was accidental. But her distress didn't seem fake. However, I think her beast sharpened her natural capabilities of efficient and controlled murder. You telling me that she is very young. She seems very upset with this form of expression with herself. She doesn't have much actual experience doing such things. It's almost paradoxical.
So to put it in a way that would make sense to Mr. Monahan here, you're saying that the beast basically made her punch above her weight?
I think it made her use the full extent of her capabilities.
So she's a lot more dangerous for a multitude of reasons.
Maggie will start to kind of lead Matthew around the edges, the pinpoints of the crime scene, like Drake did with Maggie, to where the bodies were. This is a small space. If she had completely lost herself to the beast, nothing in here would have survived. Not with the level of strength she exerted. But there's cracks. There are things that are broken. But there is not that much damage. This is efficient. I would
You
recommend.
say that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, now that you say that, and he'll just look around at the not as messy as it should be tea shop.
Matthew, I think as you're sitting there evaluating everything, you remember back when Bellatrix claimed guardianship when meeting with Carmine, and you remember him asking some questions about whether or not she might have been fully herself at all times. Little remarks about that seem to kind of flood to the surface.
When she came back to us, the one that made her did so without permission. And she was forced to feed off of him. And I remember her mentioning that there were times where she would have thoughts in her head that weren't her. Memories, things like that. I don't remember if the actual term diablerie was mentioned. This is me asking you, Devlin, if the term diablerie was ever mentioned.
The term itself was not, but you did hear her before she knew what the word was. She confessed to you guys that she had diablerized her sire.
And yeah, so she's been, I guess, seeing things or remembering things that weren't her own thoughts and memories.
I see. I will say, while we may have cleaned up this mess, considering her state of mind, there may be a need for monitored feedings. After all, she kind of looks over to Drake. Mr. Monahan pointed out very well that she is a very efficient killer, being a professional one himself.
I mean, artists know artists, I guess.
You recognize your own craft. But the minimum would be monitoring feedings. I do not think in the end it will all fall to Bellatrix, since she is taking accounting for. Was Ophelia her ghoul?
I'm honestly not sure. We knew her coming into the shop, but she never... We don't discuss our private business with each other in extent.
I see.
I will say you recall at the idea of your Chicago conflict that they were targeting Ophelia agitated her greatly.
I can tell you that this is going to be a very difficult next couple of nights.
I see.
Because regardless of who this woman was to her, I could
She was very
say
important.
Mina levels, yes.
Then I would anticipate that at worst, Sarah may not survive this. She's still a fledgling. She's under accounting. She's at the whim of her sire. At best, monitored feedings. Maybe a blood bond. Something to leash her.
Agreed.
But we will all need to keep an eye on her if this is the sort of behavior she exhibits against her own will.
Although with things that just popped back into my brain, that might soften some of this against any anger she's got or is going to have towards Sarah. Because again, it wasn't fully her. At least piecing this together, it might not have been as bad as we thought it was. Might actually have been worse. But once we sort that and she finds out what's going on, we will go from there.
Yeah. And Maggie will finish cleaning up in the area that she's in. Take another look around. We will see how this goes.
Just a moment.
Once we're finished here, I have to take care of a little bit of business before I find my way back there at the deli.
Of course. Would you like to do this alone?
It's probably not safe if I do it alone, considering, but
want to tell me what you're doing?
I need to go find me a Happy Meal.
Oh, you're hungry. Anything in particular that you're looking for?
Oh, I meant happy.
Ah.
I need to find somebody with a little bit of spirit in them tonight.
Well, I certainly can't help you with that. But you kind of nod over to Drake. He may be a good wingman for you, though. He's gonna be around more often. You're gonna have to tolerate him eventually.
After
Monahan.
Okay.
What's up, pretty boy?
Would you mind accompanying me? I have to go. I have to go out for a bite to eat, and Miss Haywood suggested you accompany me.
Well, I'll make sure to stay more to the edges. Don't want to frighten the little nuggets, now do I? But I'll make sure things go well for you.
Excellent.
There will be a short approving nod from Maggie, and then she will continue on.
So I apologize. I was looking into something. You guys are going where to find food?
Specifically, he's going to try to find someone with sanguine. So he's going to try to find happy, fun people.
And Drake's gonna stay away to not scare him away, but make sure Matt doesn't lose himself by accident.
Go ahead and give me your hunting roll.
Crit.
No problem at all. You find your food without any complications. As you two have headed off, Maggie, what did you do?
Maggie would likely have remained at T and Taro, and until something else may have called her way. She probably would have ended back up at her mortuary at the end of the night if the coterie didn't regroup.
As you are waiting to hear back from anybody, your phone rings.
Okay. She will pull it out and check the ID.
It's Dr. Corbin.
She'll pick up. Dr. Corwin?
You might want to make your way back here when you have a moment.
I will be right on my way. Is there another fire?
So to speak.
Understood.
And from there, we'll transition to the final scene. And it is Corvin hanging up the phone and kind of stepping back from two women with stakes in their chests. And across from him, a tied down Ophelia who seems to be snapping at him with large fangs. And with that, we bring it into tonight's session. Thank you, everybody, for tagging along this week, and we will see you all in the next chapter.
This has been a St. Petersburg by Night production. Bloody Strings is produced in agreement with the World of Darkness and Dark Pack. The storyteller for Bloody Strings is Devlin. Tonight's characters were voiced by Kyrie, Noree, Lekar, Truckexe, MissyMew, and Kendall. Visit our website at stpbynight.com for more information about all of our productions and how you can become a part of our community. Thank you for listening. Until next time, fangs, stakes, and claws out.